What is up? Welcome into this beautiful Tuesday edition of Pushing the Pile.
Beautiful. Not a beautiful Tuesday. It is a beautiful Tuesday edition of Pushing the Pile. But man, oh man, have you guys been outside yet? Have you?
Not
been?
Great.
It's no bueno.
It's not even close to what it will be.
Yeah, Pete, we need a full breakdown. This is our first hurricane.
Yeah.
As South Florida residents.
Well, we're not really getting the hurricane.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah.
But we're getting the effects. It's a big, big hurricane. It's like the biggest thing that's happened in like 100 years.
Let me tell you something. About a year and a half ago, they had so much rain here, you can't imagine the flooding.
Yeah.
And I got off work and drove home and barely made it home. And my wife left her office, which is downtown, about like an hour later, and she lost her bumper in the water. I mean, it was so bad. The flooding is what's a big problem here in Fort Lauderdale.
What kind of stuff is there anything we should pick up on the way home today? Like, are there any essentials that we haven't thought of?
Do you have a ton of water at the house?
Water and non-perishable food.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Cool. We're good. All right.
I don't think it's not going to be a hurricane.
Do you have a favorite activity during the hurricane when you're kind of shut in? Do you have you've been a Florida resident your whole life.
Well, what do you do during COVID? Because that's kind of what it's
okay.
Like. You don't want to know.
You don't want to know where I was during COVID.
I was single. It was bad. I was very lonely. All right. On today's show, we're going to recap a little bit of Monday Night Football. We're going to go through Pete's power rankings as always. We're going to be drafting secondaries today. And we have a new segment debuting called Embrace Debate. We'll get to that a little bit later. But first, I got to start off the show with this. Yesterday, we talked about Hooters, and I said my dad was taking me there at 5 years old. I leave the show to a text from my mom saying that it was wanting to make clear that we as a family went.
It's a family establishment, not just a bro hour.
But she wanted to make clear that in Green Bay, because we'd go in Green Bay when we go up for Packers games, there weren't a lot of sports bars that were child-friendly around the stadium. They get a little rowdy, and so
that's crazy. They settled on the Hooters in Green Bay.
Well, because it was a little farther away from the stadium.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe Mom doesn't know. But you and Pop went together at some point without her.
Yeah,
who are we kidding?
That's like That's got to be like a top 10 cool dad activity. Like, hey son, you want to go to Hooters with me? I think we'll have a great time. Then we'll go to the football game, the Packers game. You want to go to Hooters and then go to the Packers? I mean, hell yeah! Say when, I'm in.
And as you got a little older, what strip joints did you go?
Stop, Pete. This is a morning show.
I will say Hooters, the wings, and the buffalo shrimp, they're elite. They're good.
I like how cold the beers are.
I tell you what, the buffalo shrimp are good.
Buffalo shrimp's good.
Yeah, really.
Maybe we got to get a Hooters sponsorship for this show. We usually don't do free promos, but here we are.
All right, Monday Night Football. Saints travel to the Chiefs and kind of a laugher, 26-13
from the jump.
Injuries we talked about in the Saints offensive line showed up immediately. I think their first two run plays, they had miscommunications up front that blew both of them up. It was just like, that was the story then for the rest of the game. There was a point where it looked like they were going to come back, and then back-to-back plays for the Saints, interior pressure in the third quarter. It's just like, when you have three backups on your interior, it's not going to go well. And I think that's what we saw. But I think the bigger takeaway is Chiefs offense, how did they sort of cobble things together post Rashee Rice? It's just going to be combo of run heavy and quick passing is what it was. Or not necessarily quick passing, but underneath passing a lot in that offense that we saw.
Yeah, there's things that the Chiefs can't control, and obviously the injuries to these key players we've seen. You can't control how old Travis Kelce is and how many plays Andy Reid has put out there, trick plays. You feel like you've seen it all, and then obviously you haven't. Andy Reid still has that genius, that creative genius on offense. But it's Patrick and Travis. It was as simple as that. The guys just had their synergy out there. He was able to find Travis early and often. A lot of the throws weren't even deep throws, but they were rhythm throws. And you know this, Pete. Once you establish that rhythm and get that car rolling at the beginning of the game, it's hard to slow it down. They did a great job up front with the offensive line, especially in the low red area, getting guys on the ground, getting double teams at the point of attack. And I really like to see a guy like Kareem Hunt get another chance for Kansas City. And obviously the defense shows up in a big way. Again, Cook immediately with a pick. The Chiefs are where they're supposed to be.
All the talk about not having Rashee Rice and everything, I think now it all puts the emphasis on how good Andy Reid is at diagnosing and becoming a guy that can really scheme things open. And the tight ends, there were 60 of them on the field last night.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Hunt,
the kid
Kelce.
from TCU, who I really liked, Wiley, is going to end up being a factor in their passing game at some point. And he was on the field. He didn't catch a pass, but everybody else did. And I think that's what they're going to use to kind of scheme guys open and scheme the offense that way. And you can still take the creativity with Worthy, get them down the field, get those bubble screens, get them on reverses. They're going to be fine. Let's not worry about it. And if they didn't have their red zone woes, it would have been a blowout. I mean, they had Juju Smith-Schuster has to catch that ball. I mean, it's in his hands. He has to catch the football. And so I'm not worried at all about the Chiefs offense at all. And we know they're good on defense. So they're still the best team in the league.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about them, but I do think with each chip, you just become more vulnerable, right? Like, yeah, they're the best team in the league, but I don't think, especially in the AFC picture with some of the teams that are on the come up there, it's just going to be tough. I mean, it's just going to be a dogfight. To me, the bigger now, takeaway is, do the Saints have a chance even of making the playoffs at this point? They're 2-3. They started off 2-0. They dropped 2 awful ones against the Eagles and the Falcons back-to-back weeks that they really should have had. But now the injuries are starting to pile up. We have the offensive line and now Derek Carr with an oblique going forward. And that's a pretty big one for a quarterback. When, that's if you've thrown it all in your life. I used to literally strain my oblique from throwing. Yeah. It's so valuable to that. So if you don't have a fully intact oblique, especially in the NFL where that's where you're getting hit.
Oblique is like the quarterback hamstring injury. Yes. It's one that's really tough. It affects when a receiver, a DB gets a hamstring injury, you obviously can't, it might not hurt just standing around, but when you go to do your job, it hurts and it probably exacerbates the injury. So for Derek Carr, it's going to be interesting. We know how tough Derek Carr is, Pete, don't we? And I think
not say bad things about the.
It's going to be interesting.
The family will attack you.
I am under attack at all times by all families, Pete. So
they block people and everything.
But get this.
His pick to start off was like a prototypical.
To your point,
yeah, this is a lollipop.
This is something that can derail them for a long time. I mean,
they play Tampa this week too.
Tampa too.
Which is a big game. If it continues, if it could get worse at the drop of a hat, you know what I'm saying? He gets tackled a weird way. He throws from a weird angle. That oblique gets restrained. We're looking at multiple weeks.
Well, it's not only Tampa this week, but then they have Thursday night after that. So it's kind of a nightmarish scenario, and that's against Denver. So it's a nightmarish scenario from a timing standpoint of how much he'll have to recover over the next couple weeks.
So they're staring Terran.
The Chiefs have a bye.
If he's not playing, they're staring 2-5.
They're 2-6.
Yes,
2-6.
The team that we were ready to crown at the beginning of the year.
It's unfortunate.
I love this league, though, by the way.
You were crowning them?
No, it's just collective we. It was a lot of Clint Kubiak, Coach of the Year talk after week 2.
But I mean, they really should have been 4-0, I think.
Yes.
Game also. So I mean, the injuries though have piled up, and they just have shot themselves in the foot. Unfortunately,
it's just
and now if your quarterback's out, they're toast. If Derek Carr's out the next 2 weeks, I think you can put a bow on that Saints season. Unfortunately,
can we give some credit to Matt Nagy? Are we going to do? Can we do that? Because I think
no.
I think I'm going to give some credit to Matt Nagy because you get to help Andy Reid out throughout this process. He's the one that has those interactions. Yeah, Andy Reid's over there; he's controlling the whole team, but Matt Nagy is largely responsible for a lot of the sustaining of offensive efficiency there and being on the same page with Patrick and making sure these young guys are up to speed. There's a lot of these guys that haven't been out there on the field. I saw Jody Fortson out there. He just got released from his team 2 weeks ago and brought into Kansas City. The entire staff, it's not just Andy Reid. And I say Matt Nagy, but I mean the entire staff have done a great job. So credit to Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs for doing everything to keep themselves up at the top of the list in the AFC and the NFL. It's impressive. I mean, it's really impressive to me.
As long as Andy Reid's there, it doesn't matter who's below him in the offensive staff. And as long as Steve Spagnuolo's over there, it won't matter who's underneath him. Those are the two guys. I mean, look, think about it. They had Bieniemy. Everybody said, Bieniemy's got to be a head coach. He never got a head coaching job. The offense, still is darn good. If they had another receiver like you were talking about, they'd still be dynamic. And he threw for 200 yards in the first half with nobody. I mean, so come on, quit giving Matt Nagy credit.
I mean, he was the coach of the year in Chicago. You're talking about EB like he won the head coach.
I think it's Andy Reid. That's my point. It's always Andy Reid.
I'm just saying you got to give credit where credit's due. This Chiefs team has overcome a lot, particularly on the offense, and we know about Spags in the defense.
Was it Doug Peterson? It was Doug Peterson. It wasn't him. It was Andy Reid. It was Nagy. It wasn't him. It was Andy Reid. I mean,
Peterson did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the greatest accident in the history of mankind.
I'm not going to debate that, but a ring's a ring.
I really do think that Nagy has an important role there, and I just wanted to get that on.
You must really like Matt Nagy.
No, I've actually hated Matt Nagy before. He fired. He was the reason that I was gone from Chicago.
I know.
But I do also remember in 2018 there was a team that he coached, was the head coach of. He won the Coach of the Year. We made it to the playoffs, and I just remember how he was able to connect with guys, and I can kind of see that happening in Kansas City now. Andy's at that age now where we know he's the most lovable guy and is on the same page with all his players. But I think it's important to have those staff members underneath the head coach that can really dial in the minutia, the details, and get guys on the same page.
And last note here, I'll just say, we talked about Saints O-line before the season. We're like, this is a worrisome unit. We finally saw them like have to pass.
Yep.
Comeback situations, and I think that like lived up to it. The rookie tackle Talias Fuaga struggled. Trevor Penning on the other side had a rough game. Like they were kind of what we warned everyone about. Say, hey, if they get behind, things might not get.
And
pretty.
Fuaga didn't practice all week. He was dealing with that injury. Yeah. So I mean, practice is important. It matters.
Well, and here's the other thing. You talk about those injuries on the interior, and those guys. Some of those guys actually held up decently early in that game, but it's when you have your starting center go out, you get your guard go out who probably would have moved the center. That's a problem. Then you had, what's his name was hurt, and they moved him from center to guard, and he ended up playing.
Guard to center, Lucas Patrick.
Yeah, and then Shane Lemieux, who went in and played, was hurt. I mean, they're so banged up, and backup offensive linemen in this league are horrendous.
No, when you go to when you get to the sixth man, that swing guard or swing tackle, you're usually going to be okay. You can survive that with some chip help, with some stuff from the backfield. But when you get to the next guy, you could be in real big trouble.
It's funny because we've talked a lot about offensive line play, and I do the show with Vaselli, and we talked last night. He went on a rant about how you don't hit why you don't hit during training camp and in preseason. Guys need to play in the offensive line. And we'll sit here and say, well, what if one of your starters went down in camp? Well, back in the day, the norm was you played. And so once that was the norm, if somebody got hurt, you just said, okay, well, he got hurt, but he was actually working to play.
Yeah.
Linemen have to work and play together. Was the offensive line play a little bit better around the league this past week? You saw scoring go up a little bit. It was better in large part because the first 4 weeks are the preseason.
Yeah.
That's what it is, particularly for the offensive linemen. And if you don't play and work, we talk about it, getting to the second level, your double teams, the timing.
It's not like receivers where you know what route you're running, what route you're running, I know a route I'm running, and then you guys go to your respective sides, and I line up a tight end, and we run our routes. When we're running our routes as offensive linemen, we're doing it ass to ass, hip to hip, hand to hand, feet to feet. You have to have those repetitions, and if you don't, it's not a smooth product at all, to your point.
When you were with the Bears, did you hit in camp?
Yes.
And did you play in the preseason?
I played in the preseason early on, and then as the years went on, we played less and less in the preseason.
Were you better when you played in the preseason?
Yes, and the hardest that we ever really went, bigs on bigs, physical practices was when Harry Heastan became the offensive line coach for the Bears, and it was
the old Notre Dame guy.
It was evident to me that there was a stark difference between the things that I was doing between Aaron Cromer's, time in Chicago and Harry Heastan. Between there, I was a few O-line coaches, and the premium, and I didn't put a premium on practicing, and I didn't understand the value of practicing, and I was also banged up. But the O-line coaches weren't as adamant about let's beat and bang every day. Let's callous ourselves. Let's prepare for this. And when you're talking about these teams that have these long injury lists right now, which there's a lot of, Mike, there's a lot of teams with big injury lists. I think it is, to your point, not going through training camp with the fervor that they used to go through it. And when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, we're here talking about all the injuries, but their injury report is really small,
right,
relative to the rest of the league. There's no surprise there because Andy Reid makes those guys grind each other during training camp like it's 1995. Yeah, they can't go 2-a-days full pads, but they're beating the shit out of each other every single day. If you don't think that Andy Reid runs an old school training camp, you're wrong. Look at the injury report. Look at the way this team plays. Go take a look at the offensive line. There's not a lot of shuffling in the middle there. Those guys are healthy for a reason.
I think, and tell me if you agree with me, I think it's a combination of not hitting and having camp with the injuries, combined with the fact that these guys overtrain year round. their bodies your body never gets a break. You take 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off after the season, and next thing you know, you're at a fitness center training with a high intensity coach, and you go to your team stuff in March. Then you go right to that.
And that's really where you peak physically, is like in the spring,
right? And then you get to the team stuff, and you're doing that for 8 weeks, and then you take the break. And you're still training at your high intensity place, and then you come back and you're in camp already. I think that combined with the fact that guys aren't hitting leads to the problems we're seeing now with all the injuries.
So you're saying take real time off, take less intensive,
like the old days.
Take less labor intensive workouts in the off season, save it for the season, but go hard as a when you get there.
At least hit some in training camp. Correct.
It's like boxers. They don't. They literally can't stay in shape year round. You have to rest, and then it's just like a ramp up period for fights. All right, we're gonna get to
a good chat.
Yeah,
power rankings here. Pete's power rankings, as always, right after this.
Today, with the support of the NFL, a new playbook is being written. The National Gay Flag Football League provides inclusive play for over 4,000 LGBTQ plus players and allies. Here is a home with no penalty for being you.
I'll go play quarterback. We were just watching that ad. Right? We were just watching that ad. I looked at Mike. I said, should we go play some flag football? Like, I was throwing the pigskin around yesterday after one of my workouts with my trainer. He was a running back at Southern Connecticut, I think. Beast, by the way. And I still kind of got it. The wing is still there.
Did you ever play quarterback?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did? So I played a flag football league probably like 2 or 3 years ago, or 3 years ago. I pulled my quad and my hammy at the exact same time.
Did you? Oh,
it was crazy. I was like,
I turned 64 on Saturday, and I would pull everything. Have you? Did you play?
Coach us.
Did you? I would play.
Okay.
I would still play. Did you play tackle football? Did you play football?
My high school didn't even have a football team.
No.
So I played basketball.
He went to one of those liberal arts high schools.
It was University of Illinois Laboratory High School. You had to take a test to get in. It was an academic.
Smart guy.
So,
So we didn't actually even have enough for a baseball team.
We were too stupid. We were too stupid lugheads playing sports. Two meatheads.
Yeah, you took all your money from your school, went to like microscopes and beakers.
We had a pretty sick science department.
I would imagine,
because when you went to college, I went to ASU. You didn't play. I couldn't play football there, so we played flag football. But true story, we were playing flag football. We had a bunch of guys from the dorm. We got together. We didn't practice or anything. We're playing this fraternity. Yeah. And they practiced all the time, and they had plays and everything. And they're beating us like 45-0 or something in flag football.
Must have been the Pikes.
And so something like that. Yeah, one of those.
Pike Kappa Alpha.
They practice.
They don't lose.
So anyway, so late in the game, they're winning 45-0. They call timeout with about a minute left to try and get something else. So they ran this option play. I go, enough of this. I leveled the kid. I leveled them. They come piling out. I was getting banned from intramurals.
It's like when Pickens dragged that defender to the ground by his face mask.
I was not having any more of it, and that was done with it.
Put all that showboating.
So I actually played tackle football, though. Notre Dame used to. I don't think they do anymore, but they used to have intramural tackle football.
Well, that's great.
It was sweet.
The way God intended.
Each hall had their own. We actually made it to the semifinals my senior year. My hall did. I remember that I played D-line. The first time I ever saw like power, I had unblocked man. I had no clue. Guard was coming.
There's a lot to look at, buddy.
I got crunched.
You're lucky they didn't run wham. I'll do my flag football story. I went to college to play baseball. For those of you who don't know me very well, I got drafted out of high school as a left-handed pitcher. I batted too. And I went to Florida State, and I went there the same year as like EJ Manuel and all those guys. And they were all my buddies, and we all trained in the same weight room, but they were so pissed at me because I was just playing baseball. They wanted me to play football. So I ended up joining a fraternity, Pike, and they had their intramural frat league, and I went and played with those guys. And it was like, that was the first time that I realized I had made the wrong decision about playing baseball. Because I had so much fun playing football with these guys and getting to go to those games.
Were
on
you
Saturdays.
big back then?
Yeah, I was 290.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should.
It was stupid. I wasted a lot of time playing baseball,
especially with your mentality. I mean,
but we should definitely do flag here.
Your mentality is a football player. Not
I'm a ball player.
Yeah.
All right, power rankings.
Oh, here we go. I'm gonna start going. Here we go. When you guys start ripping them to shreds.
Is that Pittsburgh? Here we go.
No, that's Zach Prescott.
It's also the guy from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
We'll put the video on.
You're right.
You're correct.
You're correct.
At number 1, Minnesota Vikings at number 2. Houston Texans, number 3. Detroit Lions, 4. Baltimore Ravens cracking the top 5 for the first time since preseason. Washington Commanders at 6. Green Bay Packers, 7. Buffalo Bills, 8. How the mighty have fallen. They were number 2 just a couple weeks ago. Dallas Cowboys, 9. Atlanta Falcons round out the top 10. And I'll just say Chicago Bears coming at number 11 for Kyle's sake there.
That's pretty good. Right,
Bottom 5.
There's some crappy teams in this league.
Some usual suspects here: Miami Dolphins, Jacksonville Jaguars, Cleveland Browns, New England Patriots, and then taking up the rear, Carolina Panthers. Yet again, the Andy Dalton honeymoon short-lived.
Taking it up the rear, the Carolina Panthers.
They stay.
The fans are. Dalton having himself actually doing fine. It's the defense and the rest of the roster. That's just like their
team
terrible.
stinks.
They are objectively awful. So
Panthers?
Yeah.
Tough stuff. All right. Let's get to the Goldilocks.
Breaking news.
Who's too high?
Panthers stink.
Who's too low? And who is just right? Kyle, kick us off.
So for me, too high, Pittsburgh Steelers. After the last 2 showings, particularly the performance of the quarterback position, I have some doubts about what their ceiling is. They played out of their mind on the defensive side of the football for the first few weeks, and Justin Fields did enough for this team to stay in games. He didn't lose them football games, but he's going to have to do more because this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is starting to look a little bit more human, I would say. So the Steelers are a little bit too high. The defense is supposed to give them a chance in every game, but what gives?
Okay, but they're 15.
They're 15.
Well, put them down a little bit.
But behind who, though?
This is the too high segment.
Eagles,
this is the too high segment.
The Broncos, the Jets. I feel like the Broncos and the Jets and the Steelers
they went
are all
to,
kind of the same.
They went to Denver.
But I feel like right now, this team is struggling. And you can see in the body language of some of their star players. We were just talking about George Pickens. You talked about the routes, and then I see the Twitter cut-ups.
Jogs, you mean?
I do think that's a
They
problem.
were still routes. They were slow, but they were routes. They were the Saturday walkthrough speed routes, and some were slower than that. But when your most talented players are performing like that, it's indicative of a real issue. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not here to question Mike Tomlin's leadership, but I will say that there's an issue somewhere in that building.
Well, the issue.
Well, I mean, Pickens is the
his issue. Is him.
Well,
yeah,
it's been the same story. It's been the same story year in, year out with this guy.
But what is it? What is he saying?
So what is the issue?
What is he? He doesn't like the quarterback.
See, speak up. Let's speak up a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know how players are.
Your actions speak louder than words.
I think anybody who
all saw your actions.
And his, by the way, his snaps were cut.
Yes,
I would have cut his
try to get more production.
You know what I would have done? I would have cut his snaps completely. He would have sat on his.
I think after you don't run her out in a play,
you're done.
You are out. Yeah,
you're not playing. You're not playing anymore.
So it's too high Steelers.
But that being the thing, like that's a very good chance, I think, at this point, given Pickens' behavior and just who he is. The guy's out of his mind bonkers. That's why he fell to the second round, and why he barely got on the field at Georgia himself in the first place. So, yeah, I think that's the case. But it's also, he was your passing offense. You don't have other guys there that can replace what he does. He is that good, and there is no one else. Now, maybe they trade for Devontae. Who knows what happens with him at this point. But if he's out, I agree they are worse than the 15th team because they're not moving the ball on the offensive side of the ball.
So now I'll go too high. My too high. This is going to be a reverse jinx hedge type of play, but the Green Bay Packers at 7 are too high right now. I don't think they're I see your play here.
Anything good on either side of the ball right now. Now, I think the offensive line, the running game, I could trust that to show up week in and week out. But Jordan Love, I don't know if it's the knee, because this was kind of happening week 1 against the Steelers, but he's just erratic as can be right now. Not stepping into throws, and I guess that's kind of his MO, but like he's leaving those downfield balls way short. Missed 2 big opportunities this past week, and the one that he did connect on could have been picked.
He shouldn't even thrown it.
Yeah, that one should have been.
If you grade that on the
talking about the Will Levis throw,
the one into 3 guys on the sideline,
not in the end zone. Not that one.
No, that one shouldn't have been thrown. Wait, who called it? Kurt Banker called it like a great play or something. I didn't even actually read the video. But
the bottom line is they blocked it the wrong way, and it was he should have taken the safety. Is what he should have taken. But and the tight end Kraft kind of quit on that play too.
Yes,
he watched.
He didn't think he was going to throw it. He's like, okay, this guy's.
But the defensive back saw him throwing it.
He's dead.
Yeah.
So I do just think, though, and then on the opposite side of the ball, is they can't rush the passer right now. Rashawn Gary's been like a no-show.
Yeah, I don't know.
Year.
And people are critical of his. If you watch him, there's actually stuff people are criticizing him for the way he's rushing the passer, smack dab into the middle. He's not using any of his technique.
We call that running to darkness.
Yeah.
And offensive linemen, we love when guys just run down. There's a reason I'm 330 pounds. Like, if you want to just sprint in between my tits, be my guest, because I am going to make so much money in this league if that's your plan. Now, if you want to attack edges, I'm going to be out the door quick, and you're probably going to be making double what I should have been making if you were rushing the darkness.
So I just think the Packers right now.
Who should be ahead?
I mean, Bills, Cowboys. I'm putting ahead of them.
The Cowboys are a whisker away from being 2-.
Dak Prescott's alive. CeeDee Lamb is alive.
Yeah.
So be careful.
But the defense isn't alive.
I just think, and also if they ran into the 49ers right now, I think that line's like 4+ 49ers. I just don't think they are playing the football we expected from
we're talking about by the way, we're talking about the 49ers like, and I don't know if any of you guys have them for being too low or whatever, but we're talking about the 49ers like they're the same 49ers team.
No, they're not. No, I definitely are. They're not. I'm not putting them, but I'm just saying I don't like the way they would match up.
It's not Brock Purdy's fault.
No, it's not.
All right, who's too low?
Too low. Okay. Put some respect on arguably the best quarterback in the league, Pete. I'm not saying he is the best quarterback. It's arguably the best quarterback in the league. The Cincinnati Bengals, they're too low at 24, okay? I think that they could beat a large number of the 23 teams that you have ranked ahead of them. I am not scared away by the record with this team. I know that they keep losing the game. I know that they're inventing new ways to lose football games. But the 1-4 Cincinnati Bengals, to have them at number 24 after seeing the things that they can get done offensively, and I know they're really bad at defense, but watching their offense and Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase operate, man, they would scare the hell out of me if I were to, invest in them finishing as the 24th team in the league. I know it's a right now list, and we do it every week, but you can't sit here and tell me that. I think Orlando Brown Jr., the left tackle, is playing the best he's ever played. He looks to be taking his health really seriously. His weight looks down. He's strong. Mims is coming along at the tackle position. This offense will get better and better as the season goes on. I have real doubts about their defense, but 24, that's just disrespectful.
Well, no, this week they play the 23rd team, so maybe they have an opportunity to move up. They have an opportunity to move up. They can't stop anybody.
But man, you have to appreciate greatness when you're watching.
The offense is so fun and so great, and he's back to being Joe Burrow, but you can't stop anybody.
It's going to start to pick that defense up, I think. Seeing that they are pretty damn close. And I mean, after this last week's game against the Ravens,
well, now you got the Higgins situation now about him griping about.
Look, if you ain't bitching, you ain't playing. You're
not a wide receiver.
Yeah, so it looks like everything's okay in Cincinnati.
Burrow over the last 4 games, averaging over 300 yards,
Come on.
3 touchdowns per game. Yeah, I mean their offense. I'm not sure how many other offenses I take over them right now in the NFL.
It's crazy.
Well, offensively, they're great, but they can't stop anybody.
It's unbelievable how bad their defense has been.
And why though? The defensive tackles has something to do with it, but it's more than that.
Yeah, I mean the defensive line. It is Trey Hendrickson or nobody. There's just no one else winning one-on-ones. The secondary play has been really weird.
Bad.
Or like just they're running a lot of zone and just like the assignments have been horrendous. I don't know. So hard to defend that defense. All right, a defense that's easy to defend though, who I think is too low. New York Giants, man. Put some respect after they go to Seattle, upset win, ranked 23rd. I think people still see them. Like people saw them get blown out week 1. And everyone's like, okay, they stink. Lo and behold, the team that got blown out by Minnesota Vikings might just be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL. And since then, they went wire to wire with the Commanders. Should have won that game had their kicker not gotten hurt in that one. Wire to wire with the Cowboys, and then obviously beat the Seahawks, beat the Browns. I don't think they're that bad, honestly. I think this team compares well with teams like the Broncos that are ahead of them, teams like the Jets.
They're a tough team.
Teams like the Steelers. They're to me, are right in that mix of teams. So
he's done a nice job. He's done a nice job. I think Daniel Jones is actually playing pretty good football.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones looks like an NFL quarterback. Did you see how happy he was on the block? Like to see Daniel Jones smile on a sideline shot when they go the Hitchcock shot on him, and he's over there happy. It makes me happy.
But having said all that, the Seahawks defense has been bad and they're hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
Seahawks banged up.
Yeah,
and I can say but it was still they kind of controlled that game.
Yeah,
like they were the better side in that game. And they didn't even have Malik Neighbors. They didn't even have their best player offensively. So when he's back, I think this offense can actually move the football because this isn't the offensive line we've become accustomed to with Daniel Jones. Like, this offensive line is actually solid.
If they don't move it this week against the Bengals, then
exactly, there we go.
There's a red flag.
The Burrow
We'll get
Daniel
a lot more.
Jones shootout.
Well,
Is that going to happen?
You
That'd
like
be
the over
fun.
tomorrow when
That'd
we
be
make
fun.
the picks.
All right, who's ranked just right?
Just right. Arizona Cardinals. They're just right. They're just sneaking along through this thing, and they're getting a little bit better. They've been blown out. They've also blown teams out. They've played some teams tough. It's hard to argue that Kyler Murray is not hitting his stride as an NFL quarterback. Last week, the numbers weren't gaudy passing-wise, but there's so many different things he can do. The way you have to prepare for this Cardinals team from a defensive side, it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot on the plate of these coordinators with Kyler Murray. He's healthy. He is the fastest, most athletic guy on the field at all times. And really, that's the X factor. I think you've got them right where they need to be. They can make, they're at that decision time in the season where you can see we can be a team that can make a run and get into the dance and beating somebody maybe at the dance, or we can be a team that gets blown out. So I think just right. It remains to be seen with the Cardinals, but I like where they're at.
I think the fact that they responded the way they did is telling about that staff too. I mean, they got blown out the week before by Washington. They were terrible on defense. And then they go to San Francisco. They're down in that game, and they find a way to come back and win it. That tells you a lot about the way. I thought they'd be a feisty, tough team, which is why all year long, not win a ton of games, but be a feisty team in every game. And the fact that they got blown out by Washington was kind of surprising to me. But the fact they responded is really telling about that coaching staff.
My team, and I agree with Arizona Cardinals and the coaching staff there. I just think they are still so far behind the 8 ball from a talent perspective.
Yes,
so many
particularly on defense.
Unfortunately, my team that I think is perfect, just right, the Goldilocks team, Baltimore Ravens number 5. And truthfully, I more just wanted to give you a hat tip too. I think your top 5 is exactly the way I would rank the top 5 right now, which is Chiefs, Vikings, Texans, Lions, Ravens. My heart wants to put the Commanders there. I love what they've done offensively, but then you just see who they've played, see what they've done, and it's like, okay, they get their chance this week to prove it. The Baltimore Ravens this week, I believe it's in Baltimore.
It is in Baltimore.
That's like, you do that, we'll put you there. But I just think with who they've beaten so far, Giants, Bengals, Cardinals, Browns, none of those teams are playoff teams. None of those are even sniffing the playoffs right now. So this is their test. You want to do it against the Baltimore Ravens.
And then they get Carolina, and it gets, then the schedule gets soft again. I don't think they have to get on a plane, but maybe one time the rest of the season too. Think about that.
That helps.
Or twice.
That's wild. We need
because they play the Eagles.
Yeah, the East is all
dry, and then they're
all trains.
Yeah, they got nothing.
I forget that those guys take trains to games.
Yeah,
that's like fascinating to me. We used to take the bus to Green Bay. That pissed me off. I'd be like, let's just fly. It's 30-minute flight.
Right.
But still, it's 4 hours on a freaking bus to Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yeah, terrible.
Oh, I love that.
The Paper Valley Sheridan. Shout out to the Paper Valley Sheridan.
I think Paper Valley Sheridan used to have
I spent a summer in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, covering the Jaguars. Did you know they trained there?
They trained Stevens Point. I did
1995.
Wow. More you know. All right. There you have it. There's your Goldilocks segment. We're going to take a quick break, but after this, we're going to get to Embrace Debate.
It's a team almost too good to be true.
You guys ain't ready for us.
Kick your game day off right as the Tops team tackles all the biggest headlines around the league.
Who's got 2 thumbs and loves this next segment?
Sunday mornings on CBS Sports Network.
So after the show a few weeks ago, we were talking. We're like, Pete doesn't get riled up enough when we get him on. He agrees with us a little too much when we go through our segments. And so how do we get him more active? And we settled on this segment, Embrace Debate, where we just throw topics out and we're going to debate.
I like it.
So
you can say something dumb like Leger did and say Patrick Mahomes is a game manager. That'll get me fired up.
Who wins the NFC South? Pete, kick us off.
Well, I'm sticking with the team that I picked before the season, and the Bucs. I still think they're the best team in the division. I know what happened the other night was inexcusable.
Do you? Because you put them 13th on the power rankings, put the Falcons at 10.
Yeah, but they're still they beat them. So I give them credit. They're the best team, and they were so banged up on defense. I mean, you talk about a team that's losing guys, and then they get guys. No, Winfield is enormous for them in that secondary. And so I think the mix of young and old is fantastic on that team. I think they're the best team. They didn't have the right tackle, Gedeke. He hasn't played in 3 weeks. I think they're the best team.
Look, the Bucs are spicy. They're a dangerous team, but we saw that team, we talked about the injuries, but we saw those teams head to head in prime time. Kirk Cousins finds a way to win that game. The Falcons are on the uptick right now.
We have some news.
What's going on?
Robert Saleh has been fired as the head coach of the New York Jets.
Shut up.
According to Adam Schefter, or I'm not sure who broke it first, but I'm seeing everyone talking about that right now. So we should probably discuss this right
great
now.
debate. Who should be the new New York Jets head coach?
What?
Have they named an interim coach?
So this, not that, I mean, it literally just happened.
Aaron Rodgers, new head coach?
That's
He's a general manager too.
That's what this has to be, right? You don't fire Robert Saleh at this point in time unless Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers
a few weeks ago when Rodgers on the sideline had that moment with Saleh.
2 possession lead.
Yeah, where he like pushed him away.
2 possession lead.
Ooh.
But look, Robert Saleh hasn't done a great job with the Jets.
I'm not going to debate that.
But Nathaniel Hackett hasn't done a great job with the offense. So who's going to be the head? Is Nathaniel Hackett going to be the head coach because Aaron Rodgers is his buddy? That's a problem. That's a big problem. I joked around all offseason about Aaron Rodgers being president, general manager, coach, quarterback, offensive coordinator, all of it. And when you give a guy that much power, you're asking for it. I think he's arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he should not have the decision-making power in that building at all. It's a major mistake by the
checks and balances are so big in the NFL, and not many of us would argue that Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches of all time. But when you get complete autonomy and you get complete decision-making, almost like dictatorial, rule over a team, over a franchise, you can see that checks and balances are super important. So that's the next question. Who's going to be there to hold everybody accountable?
Well, I mean, we saw it, I think, most famously with LeBron over his time in Cleveland, right? Where it's just like, I want my guy, and it just never worked, right? It's just when a player is given power over a roster or over decision-making the way Aaron Rodgers has. And I don't think, they're not ever going to come out and say it, but you don't sign Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, like literally all his buddies year one, if he's not in there making those decisions. So, and this doesn't happen.
See, in basketball, it worked with Magic when he got rid of Paul Westhead. And remember, he went to the Lakers. Paul Westhead was the coach of the Lakers, and he got rid of him, and they made Pat Riley the coach. So they brought in Showtime.
Pat Riley
because Paul Westhead had this system he didn't want to run like Magic wanted to run, so he got rid of him. And so then they put in, ironically, because Paul Westhead became a guy that ran all over the place when he became a college coach. But that's what happened. So it worked in the NBA because you got to start. You need 2 players in the NBA. You could be a star. You could be a good team. In the NFL, it doesn't work. Bill Belichick was fired as the head coach because Bill Belichick, general manager, stunk. Yep. Bottom line.
Yep.
It's
too much power.
You're too close. You're too close to all these.
Player having a power is ridiculous.
Exactly. So this one, man, I just don't see how this benefits the Jets. One of our debate topics is going to be, do the Jets make the playoffs? And I honestly feel I wanted to say yes before this, but this gives me pause. This gives me pause about turning around. Aaron Rodgers said, we're going to go on a run some point. I don't think they're going on a run some point at this rate. If you're firing your head coach.
Yeah, we were just talking about how banged up Aaron has been looking, and, things are not looking bueno right now. Now you get the head coach out of the building.
Because Saleh, for as much as maybe him and Aaron Rodgers don't get along, there's got to be guys on that defense side of the ball that love him. Their defense has played exceptional over his career, and even this year, they have one of the best pass defenses of all time to start through 5 weeks. So it's like they're doing things well on that side of the ball, which is his side of the ball. So there's got to be people in that. I could see this creating some sort of chasm in the locker room that maybe there was one already. But
what's this also say? I said all along they were going to go get Devontae Adams because in the way they play offense, so stagnant, they need another weapon. They don't move. That's Rodgers' way. It's always been the Rodgers way. Going back to Green Bay, every receiver that's been there, he likes 2 over here and 1 over here, and we go. Well, that's okay. Back then it was okay because teams didn't use so much rotation after the snap. You got to have motion. You got to dictate tempo. He hates it. Yep. They don't do it. Hackett buys into it. And you need another weapon to play that way. So go get Devontae Adams. And if you go get Devontae Adams, why wouldn't you if you're Joe Douglas? If you don't win, you're out. You're following Saleh out the door too. Go make the move. You're giving away somebody else's draft picks.
I will say, if they follow this up and fire Nathaniel Hackett, if they do both, I'm back in. If they just put a new staff in place there, because I think the talent is there to do a lot more than they're doing right now. But at this rate, if Nathaniel Hackett's given more power, we're in trouble.
Jeff Albrecht?
The defensive coordinator, Ulbrich, he's going to be the interim coach.
That's what they said.
No, I'm making a guess here. I'm looking at it. If it's not Hackett, it's going to be the DC. Is it the special teams coordinator, Brant Boyer?
If you know Brant, I've known Brant. Brant was a special teams guy in Jacksonville.
Do you see him being an interim
player
guy?
in Jacksonville? No, I love Brant. I think Brant could do it. I don't. Jeff Ulbrich is a very. You guys know Jeff. Jeff's an emotional former linebacker. He's a fight. I mean, if you want that, then that's okay. I think. Look, here's the thing. Does Hackett design and call his offense the way he does because of Rodgers, or is that just what because Rodgers was running that offense long before Hackett was there.
There is a Rodgers offense, and it's not like it's difficult to watch at times. I've said this about how he's addicted to slant flat and those tight end screens and stuff of that nature that he just like feels comfortable with and wants to run, and he doesn't want motion, like a lot of things that he doesn't want to do, but like he needs someone to not be his buddy and be like, yeah, you're correct, Aaron, right? You know, he needs someone to be like, hey, we're going to do this because this works. And it also is going to complement who has actually, I mean, that's what LaFleur was doing. LaFleur had
motion.
Compliments to what he would be able to do.
It wasn't full-fledged motion, but he had some.
Yes. And now you see what the Packers do now. I think they lead the NFL in pre-snap motion.
Right. And so why were they hesitant to do it? Because Rodgers didn't like it.
Jeff Ulbrich.
So
will be the interim head coach for the Jets per sources, per Peter Schrager.
There you go. All right.
Now he's a fiery guy now. If you want some fire in the belly, you're going to get it from Jeff Ulbrich.
I love that. And maybe it matches some of the passion that Aaron Rodgers has for the game at 40 years old.
Well, you didn't
crazy.
Also, did you think Robert Saleh had fire? I mean, when he was standing on the sideline, did you see that? No. I mean, but if Jeff Ulbrich is going to be the interim head coach, that means you're probably keeping your offensive coordinator.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Whew. Well, all I can say is, as a Packers fan, you should not be surprised, Jets. Like, this is what you signed up for. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers is one of one, and you just feel like he's a freaking massive personality that has to be managed. That will take his ball and go home if things don't go his way.
This is so crazy. It's so early for this,
but it is wild the timing. No one would have.
The only thing it can be, because you're at this stage of the season. If you thought about him, what you think. That you should have fired him before the season. The only thing this can be is Rodgers complaining about him because of what they did in London.
Yeah. All right. Do a couple more embrace debates here, and then we'll get to our draft.
That's crazy.
Segment.
It's nuts.
So now I guess that leads us to who is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC? Not the Jets, I'll say, even if I picked them to win the Super Bowl preseason.
Buffalo. It's always been Buffalo for me.
You think so?
The biggest threat to the Chiefs is the Baltimore Ravens.
That's where I'm at.
I mean, the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs is the Baltimore Ravens.
The turnaround for the offensive line has been so night and day that Lamar's been sacked on 2.8% of his dropbacks this year, lowest of anyone in the NFL. If that's going to be the case, if they're going to play the way they have the past 2 weeks, that offense is, they're one of the best offenses in the NFL, and they can win now any way they want to with the tight ends, with the two wide receivers, with Derrick Henry.
Let's flip to the other side of the field, though.
Defense is struggling
in a big way
compared to a year ago.
I mean, there's problems on that side of the ball. I mean, they've given up a lot of big plays. This is not a good defense right now.
Wiggins.
I don't think it's Buffalo. I don't think it's
They did just
Cincinnati.
shut down the Bills a week ago.
I don't think it's Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be Baltimore.
What about the Texans?
The Texans,
they haven't played that well either.
I need their defense to show me a little bit more. Now they shut down the Bills, but it's like that to me. I said this on yesterday's show was more. Josh Allen missed more throws than I've seen Josh Allen.
There were a lot of drops in that game too.
It was a horribly played game by the Bills offense,
and they should have won. And they still should have won the game.
Ravens. And also, you look at the timeline and the way that Kansas City went and beat Baltimore in Baltimore last year, and then the beginning of the season, Baltimore nearly beating Kansas City. They knew that. They said if that was their best shot, we're going to get them back. You know what I'm saying? It would be an interesting matchup is all I'm saying. Baltimore, Kansas City.
Yeah, I think, again, it's hard for me to nitpick on one play, but I'm going back to the play in Buffalo. If Buffalo doesn't run the stupid flea flicker, they go make it 21-17, 21. It was 21-10, 21-13. And all of a sudden you're looking at the Ravens sitting there in the fourth quarter going, you know what? We just blew a lead to the crappy Raiders, and Gardner Minshew should be sitting on the bench. And so they got him going. I think their pass defense has problems right now, and that's going to be an issue for them.
I think Nate Wiggins could come in and solidify it. We'll see. All right, let's get to after this, we're going to do a little draft segment. 5-man secondary last week's results, Pete won again.
Damn.
With the classic, though, it was pretzel, light
Hot
beer.
dog, beer, pretzel.
You went rogue
I had a
with
delicious meal. I had a delicious
Yeah.
time. I had a
I don't
great
know,
time.
I came in last.
How are the after
People are
effects of
hating on
that?
cheese
Get
curds.
explosive.
Well, because we ripped your cheese curds to shreds.
We killed his curds.
It was funny. After the show, my dad gave me a full breakdown of what cheese curds were, and I can't remember them now. They're like,
Well, he gave
After
you like
the
a
ways-
scientific definition.
yeah,
and so was he mad that we took was the
no.
He was
Wisconsin?
like, hey,
Other
put some
people like
respect on cheese curds. This is actually what they are. Tell that
Wisconsinites,
dumbass next to you that
They don't
this is
need
what
anyone
they
else
are.
to like.
You know, like
what we
if you make fun of the Primanti Brothers sandwich for Pittsburgh, the Steeler fans come after you,
Yeah.
right? Have you ever had that?
I mean,
Yeah.
I make fun of
fries on a sandwich. You just
hot,
don't need
hot
them.
beefs
Just put
in
them on the side.
Chicago too. I mean, I have, I don't.
I like
Discriminate.
I like the
You
Italian.
like
hot.
that muddy water all over the the beef?
Yeah.
All right, let's draft secondary. So we go with Kyle now, I believe, after Pete started last week.
I'm going to start this thing with Pat Surtain the second.
Oh, PS2, easy pick. All right, I was thinking about going with a safety off the rip, but I think corner is where I want to go. I'm just going to go Sauce Gardner just because
Hadn't played that well.
he is consistently one of the best press.
He hadn't
players.
played that
He
well.
hasn't played a lot of press though this year. They've been playing like some off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Sauce Gardner.
I'll take Johnson from the Bears.
Jalen Johnson.
I'm going to go with your guy DJ Reed, who you said had the best game out of anybody you've ever seen. Essentially,
DJ Reed's been better than Sauce this year.
okay.
But
He has
DJ
been.
Reed's my pick.
He has been.
Gosh. All right. I think I'm going to go with the best ball hawking safety in the NFL. I'm going to go Jesse Bates.
That's a good pick there.
Start with safety.
I'm going to go with one of the harder hitters. Or actually, it's your pick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're jumping. You're jumping.
I'm
the gun.
excited.
You're getting
This
really.
guy fired me up last week.
You're getting
Sorry.
really excited for this, aren't you? I'm going to go with Kyle Hamilton.
Ooh, Jalen Johnson, Kyle Hamilton, a unique pick in that not a lot of people can do what, well, Kyle Hamilton does.
Antoine Winfield.
A little banged up right now.
Well,
Yeah.
this is a fantasy
We're playing.
draft.
We're playing tomorrow.
This is a fantasy
No,
draft.
no, we're playing tomorrow.
Yeah, come on. All right. Where do I want to go? I had a few other safeties in mind. Do I want to go? I'll go with Trent McDuffie.
Huh?
Give me Trent McDuffie. Great slot,
That's a really
versatile.
good pick.
Can do whatever I want. All right, we'll take him.
I need another corner. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Let me see your list. Yeah, I just got your list. Read some corners off the top. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head who I want. I don't want Jalen Ramsey. He can't play like
Riley
he used
Moss.
to.
Derek Stingley, Trayvon Diggs,
Riley Moss.
Not
Riley
Trayvon
Moss.
Diggs. Not Riley Moss. Yeah.
Christian Gonzalez,
Christian Gonzalez is a great pick.
Marshawn Lattimore,
No.
Jair Alexander.
No. Jair Alexander. I'll take him.
Oh, you like a little spice
Go off.
back there.
I like. You know what? I like him. And Alexander Island. I told him. I said you should come up with
Alexander Island. That's where they put all the crazy kids. Jaquan Brisker.
Oh, homer pick. But
Jaquan
Yeah, that's
Brisker
a
for
homer
me.
pick.
Did you see him knock Buddy out last week?
That's a homer pick.
Violent. Guy plays violent.
I'm going Christian Gonzalez then. Give me two massive corners on the outside. Trent McDuffie in the slot, Jesse Bates deep. I feel good about my team so far. I'll just
Who do you have on? Who are your corners right now?
Sauce and Christian Gonzalez.
Who do I have? PS2.
We're playing press. Don't worry about it.
Got DJ Reed.
So now, Pete, you got Jalen Johnson, Kyle Hamilton, Jair Alexander. You could probably use a slot. You could maybe put Jair in the slot if you want. You could put Kyle Hamilton in the slot. You can go a lot of different ways here if you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another safety I want to draft off the top of my head.
So I get one more pick.
You do? You know, I think Alexander would be a great slot corner, but
Yeah.
So
He's played there a little bit over his career, not a ton though.
okay, I'm going to pick a corner who's playing out of his mind this year, and I think his best football's in front of him. McCullum.
That was Zion.
Can I put him? Do you think I can move him inside?
I don't know if that's where he'd be as best. I think he's probably an outside.
See, I was
He
gonna
doesn't
take-
tackle that
I'm
well.
at my best when he's.
I
on
was
my
thinking
team.
about taking it. I was thinking about taking a nickel corner
Okay.
like Kenny Moore or making Lenore play him in there.
Yeah.
But I went with, because I'm going to play Alexander in the slot.
We just bumped DJ Reed inside, and we've now drafted Riley Moss onto our team. So
You're rushing that one, aren't you?
we're going to be.
Moss
Hey,
has been real nice.
He has been good, but
hey, pump the brakes.
Okay.
Don't peak too soon.
Okay.
Guy's getting better. He's got like an 80 PFF grade too.
that means
that's
that means he's probably a
that's a really
60.
hard grade.
That means he's probably a 60 then.
No. What I'm saying is, it's hard to get the respect from PFF. It's tough.
No, he's played well.
You go block your ass off for 4 quarters, and they're like 64.
All right. I think my team just solidified the victory with Xavier McKinney here.
He's played really well.
Jesse
That's a
Bates,
homer pick. That's
Xavier
a homer.
McKinney. Not a homer pick.
That's a
He's one
homer
of the
pick.
best.
He's got 5
safeties in the
interceptions in the
NFL.
last 5 games.
He's been awesome.
He can cover the entirety of the field. It's looking a little Ed Reedish out
There
there.
you go. So I have Sauce, Christian Gonzalez, Trent McDuffie as my corners, Jesse Bates, Xavier McKinney as my safeties, and you guys aren't passing on me. All right, go ahead. Pete, you're up. Last pick.
I need a safety, right? I
You
got
need a safety.
I'm trying to think.
Some of the good ones out there. Javon Holland.
He hasn't played as well.
Trying to think.
I usually like a young guy that's like,
Tell me more, Pete.
no, like a young, like rising.
Derwin, not as rising.
No, he's
but
not as good.
The young rising guy.
Don't like
like a Reed Blankenship.
no,
Like a Reed Blankenship,
Minka
Cooper
Fitzpatrick?
DeJean type.
no,
Minka,
no,
still available.
no. He hasn't played
Tyreek
as well.
Stevenson.
No, he plays corner. No, I need a safety.
Right now.
I need a safety.
Okay.
Julian Love playing well this year.
He is playing well.
Kirby Joseph, a young rising guy.
Petrie,
Jabril Peppers, a not rising guy
No.
after
Petrie.
what was the rest he had. Jalen Petrie, yeah. I like Joe Petrie. But
Yeah.
then you kind of got 2 slot box guys
Yeah, I
in
know.
Kyle Hamilton and Jalen Petrie.
I need a free safety.
Buddha.
Yeah, give me Buddha.
Take Buddha.
Kevin Byard has played well.
But last year he was terrible.
He's old, but he's good. I mean,
I don't.
All right, Kyle,
Tom Brady
last
won at
pick
44.
here. You got Pat
I already
Surtain,
got 5 picks.
DJ Reed.
Yeah, I got PS2, DJ Reed, Brisker, Winfield, and Moss.
Oh, Riley Moss. There you go. All right.
That's my
But
5.
you need another player because Winfield can't play.
this is my 5.
We're playing
right.
tomorrow.
Well,
if,
starting
if,
fives.
if I got to get somebody out there, I'll put Tyreek Stevenson in there for Brisker, or for Winfield.
You know, by the way, he hasn't played as well as I thought he would play this year. Stevenson.
He's
Tyreek?
big
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, he's kind of more of like pure man.
See, the
Yeah,
problem
he's a
is
matchup nightmare.
the problem is your slot corner. Because Kenny Moore's been good at it. Mike Hilton's been good at it. But like Lenore's been really good at it when he goes in there.
Well, we didn't say Witherspoon. We didn't say, who's Brian Branch, who's been awesome in the slot. So a few slot corners out there that we glossed over. All right, so it's starting 5s. To recap, Pete had Jalen Johnson, Jair Alexander, Zion McCollum, Kyle Hamilton, Buda Baker at safety. Kyle had Pat Surtain, DJ Reed, Riley Moss as his corners. He just recreated Denver's defense basically and added a splash of Jets. Not bad pass defense to have.
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah. And then Antoine Winfield, Jaquan Brisker on the back end. I had Sauce Gardner, Christian Gonzalez, Trent McDuffie at corner with Jesse Bates and Xavier McKinney at safety.
It's a good group.
You guys could just say that.
yeah, your
We're going to
group.
run the football on you guys.
Your group is probably your corners are the best for sure.
We have the grittiest group, probably.
Yours probably is the grittiest. Definitely the
100%.
first in, last outest. Definitely has.
See, but okay, based on this year, McCollum has played better than Sauce Gardner.
They're just different types, though. You
Right.
know, like Zion's like off coverage, just breaks in the football a bit awesome. Sauce is like press man, but he's like fine and off, but that's not his bread and butter. So,
But McCollum's been really, really good this year.
all right, there you have it. Our 5-man secondaries. Let us know
And
who
some
won
breaking
on
news.
the YouTube channel. And some breaking news is Robert Saleh is out as the Jets head coach. Until next time, we'll be back tomorrow with Mailbag. Ask us your questions. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll for sure get to it. Or if not, just find the tweet that we put out on the Pushing the Pile Twitter handle later today. Reply to it, and your question will more than likely get answered on tomorrow's show. Until next time,
Stay safe out there.
Yes,
stay
yes.
safe. If you're in Florida, shelter in place.
Particularly on the
Get out.
west coast of Florida.
If you're
Be
there, if you
careful.
live in Tampa. Until next time, keep pushing.